Hi children, back again with another exciting arts lesson. Now today's lesson is going to use a technique called glue resist using PVA glue. You are going to need a paintbrush for your actual painting, but you will need a really old paintbrush for your glue, or if you haven't got an old paintbrush then you can use cotton buds instead. You just don't want to be using best paintbrushes to be mixing in with the glue because you'll never be able to use them again as a paintbrush, okay? So let's get started. Now, there are two different ways for getting your glue onto your paper. One is to pre-draw a design and then to apply the glue by using a cotton bud or a really old paintbrush. So I'm going to show you mine. This is a very sort of simplistic drawing of a sunflower. I don't know if you can see that. Or the other method is taking you a bit out of your comfort zone, where you actually pour the glue straight from the bottle onto your paper with a kind of an image in mind. So a bit risque but very exciting. This has been created doing just that. You'll need to decide whether you're going to draw your image straight onto your paper or whether you're going to have a go at pouring the PVA glue straight onto the page. First of all, I'm going to show you what to do with drawing your image on and then applying your PVA glue to it. I'm going to use a very simple image of a sunflower because it's really quite simple, and I quite like it when the petals go off the page, so it just makes it look quite interesting. So there's nothing difficult about this. It's just very simple shapes. My petals are different sizes. There's nothing accurate about it. That's the way I like it. And I'm going to do a stem that just comes off the page with a leaf that's going to come off the page as well. Now I'm going to show you what to do first of all using the method where you're going to actually paint your PVA glue onto a design you've already pre-drawn. Don't forget, this design has to be quite simple. You need quite big spaces. I know I've drawn mine in quite a big sketchbook, but if you're using your smaller sketchbook or a piece of paper, just make sure that your design is not fussy. It's got to be simple. So I've poured some PVA glue into a plastic cup, and I don't have any old paintbrushes, so I'm going to use a cotton bud. So you'll need to tip your cotton bud, or dip it I should say, into your glue, and as you can see, look, as soon as you do that you get that sort of, you can pour your glue, but you need to have a bit of control over this. So I bring my cup quite close to my page, and I need to just start my glue on a line. It's quite thick, so it tends to not drip too quickly off, and when you run out of glue you should be able to lift it up and then get some more glue. You need to be very calm, really focused, very mindful doing this, and just keep it steady. All you're doing is you're just dragging the glue around until you run out of glue, and then you'll go back into your cup again. So it takes a while. Now I've just realised that I should have started maybe in the middle. No, actually I think what I'm going to do is probably do the top of the page, and then I won't have to lean over and then into all the glue. I was going to say I was going to start in the middle of my sunflower and then work round, but I think it's going to be better if I work at the top of the page. So I don't really want to lean in it. I now can turn my book around, but I've just got this horrible feeling, because I'm fairly accident prone, that I'll end up leaning in it and then getting all the glue stuck to my arm, which is not a good plan. So you can see that after a while, the cotton wool on the cotton bud tends to go a bit drippy, so it ends up like a paintbrush anyway. Don't worry if it goes a bit blobby, it's fine. Again, this does not have to be perfect. It kind of looks good if it's a bit shabby. I like to use that word rustic just to make it sound better, but a little bit shabby is fine. Look, that's, the cotton wool's gone really, really long, but that helps. It helps to get a line. So all the top bits will be done first. You shouldn't really get in it too much of a mess. It's PVA glue, it's quite thick. You can also go over areas if you feel that the line's a bit thin. You can probably neaten it up a little bit as well, if you feel that you really want to. It's quite relaxing doing this. If you get any splodges on your work, don't worry. It will be fine. The more you do, the easier it becomes. You do your first, put your first bit of glue on. It makes you think, oh, what am I doing? I'm going to do it wrong. And then the more you do, the more you trust yourself. You think, I can do this. Right, so you get the idea. I'll just finish off this circle, and then rather than bore you with watching me just put the glue on, I'm going to show you how to do the pouring method. Okay, right, now I can come back to that. If I'm really fussing about how some of it looks, I can get a clean bud and just gently nudge some of the glue into place, but don't over fuss, because what it looks like with the glue and then what it looks like once you've got all your paint on it is completely different. You'll probably look at it with the glue and think, I don't like that, and then after you've painted it you'll think, yeah, I love it, it's amazing. So I'm moving this out of the way and I'm going to show you how to do the other one. I'm going to show you the pouring method now. Now it helps if your glue has a nozzle, because it just helps you to control the bottle. So what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze and move the bottle at the same time. So starting at the bottom, I would do my leaves first. You need to move quite quickly and you need to keep pouring. So really quick, go with the flow. We're not going for perfect flowers, And don't forget, if you don't like this one, you can always do another one. And then some more. Right, I'm ready to start. My glue has dried overnight and it's great. I love PVA glue because it's gone all plasticky. It's quite lovely. So I've got my materials ready. I've got the paints I'm going to use today. I've chosen these because I'm doing a sunflower, but you might have different colours, so whatever you have available. My water pot, my paintbrush and a paper towel. And I always like to have a damp paper towel just in case I want to wipe my hands or anything while I'm working. Don't forget to put your apron on as well. So I'm going to start off, because I'm using watercolour, you need quite a bit of water, as you know the name suggests. So I'm going to put my paintbrush into the water, and I've loaded it with quite a lot of water. And what I would like to do is just to create a colour wash. So this is not going to be the final colour. The lovely thing with watercolour is you build up the colour. So I like to start off with what's known as a colour wash. So to do this, just really sort of get a lot of water onto your paintbrush and go to an area. Now I'm going to start from the back and work forward so that I'm not leaning over wet paintwork. I'm just putting some water into my first petal, and I'm simply just going to put a base colour of yellow. So now I had these set out last night, so they've dried up a bit. I'm just going to a really watery brush. I'm just adding lots of water to my paint because it's gone a bit sort of thick. It's very hot today again. So while it's been waiting for me to get ready, it's really got quite thick. Now, I'm just going to scrape off some of that paint. I don't really need a lot on my brush. And I'm just going to put some dabs of it and spread it with the water. Now, the lovely thing about watercolour is it dries really quickly. Just a gentle wash of colour. Then I can go over that later. I think for me, I just want to, oh look at that, I've not needed any more paint at the moment. And what you're doing is you're pushing the paint right up to those PVA bits that you've glued. Lovely. Just a really lovely wash of colour. If it gets too light, then just add more paint, but it's quite nice to see it sort of change from having a white background to a nice coloured one. And then you can see, once you've started to do this, you can see it just come into life a bit more. Just put a little bit in there. I'm going to move my water out of the way. I don't want to knock it over. And then a bit more over here. I'm just going to add the water this time and then some paint. The nice thing about the PVA glue is if you're a bit of a messy painter, it helps your paint to stay in one section. Therefore, it doesn't bleed into the next section if you use a different colour. So it's quite nice actually, nice idea. Lovely idea for very young painters. If somebody traces the outline of their drawing for them with the PVA, and then a very young painter would find this quite interesting. You can't go over the lines, it's great. So a bit more in there. Now another idea with this is, and I've seen this done on the internet, is to mix a colour with the PVA glue. So if you do another one, you could mix black paint in with the PVA glue, and then your outline would be black. So just another idea for you to experiment with another time. I might like to try one of those, because this would look good outline in black. What I like about this as well is when I load more paint into the areas, I've noticed that the pigments in the paint tend to collect round the edges of the PVA glue. So you're going to get some really, really lovely shading on this, which will just happen by itself. Sometimes it just runs in and just settles there. Now, if you go over, I just flicked a little bit over there, but because the paint is so light, it doesn't matter. And my background colour will cover it anyway, so it's quite nice to have your outline already set. Any mistakes, you won't really notice them. So as you can see, my sunflower's beginning to come to life a bit more now. I love this yellow, it's really nice. I don't know why, but sunflowers are just such happy flowers. They just make you smile when you see them. Alright, so that's just a little colour wash, just on my main sort of petals. Now, the centre, I'm going to colour wash it with a bit of orange, especially this bit here. So I've got like this 3 circles in my centre, and I think the outer centre I'd like to have a lovely orange colour. If you're not sure, this is why I like watercolour, because if you're not entirely sure what colours you want, then it doesn't matter at this stage, because you've just got light colour washes on and you can go over it with another colour. So, oh, look at that, that's gorgeous. Love that. So not too much paint to start with. It's really relaxing doing this. You're just, actually what you're doing is you're just working out the foundation of your painting and seeing really which colours you like. That's really nice. The centre, might go for a dark brown in the centre. Not really sure. I'd like it to be a bit different. That might be quite nice. I'll just do a light splash of brown in there for now. And maybe a darker yellow. It's like a mustard colour there. And then let's put some water in there. So don't forget, if you want to get rid of excess water, just tap your paintbrush. Let's do another colour wash in there. Okay. Right, now I'm going to do my colour wash on my stem, which will of course be green, but very light. I can make up different shades later, but for now I'm just going to put a light wash. As you can see, it's beginning to just jump off the page a bit more now we've got the foundation colours in. Put lots of water in there. Ah, I'm beginning to like, ooh, I didn't wash that properly. I've got a bit of orange. It doesn't matter. Might need to just wipe my brush. Doesn't matter. Look, see, that's the good thing with watercolour, is if you want something to go away, just put water on it. So lots of water, and then let's put some green in there. There you go. Just make it a bit darker. So I'm just going back and put a bit more green in. And you can really push the tip of your paintbrush against the PVA glue. It's quite nice. I definitely feel like I'm painting stained glass. It's lovely. Right, now I definitely want to paint my background, and while I've been doing this I didn't know what the background colour was going to be, so I think I'm going to go for a blue because it's going to look really lovely against the colours that I've used. Normally I'd probably do the background first, but for this I really wasn't sure what my colours were going to look like, so I was very undecided. But now I know I want an almost sky blue colour. So this paint's never been used before, so I'm going to just pierce it. Right, so I'm using, this is a lovely blue. And I'm not going to mix any white in with it because I'm just simply going to do the same thing where I will add a colour wash. Now, obviously I could go and change my water, but I think if I just wipe my paintbrush just to make sure there isn't any green still left on it, I should be able to get away with it. Let's just test it just to make sure my, oh yeah, that's okay. My water's not too orange. If you're using a dark colour, you might need to just go and change your water. But look, you can see it's not really orange, so that means I can put my blue on it. Now, I know I've tested it there, but I'm actually going to start at the top because I don't want to lean on any wet work. So I'm just painting, again, lots of water. Just don't forget this does dry very quickly, and I don't want to put too much blue on, so I'm undecided. That's too much. I can water this down. Quite undecided how blue I want it. I'll probably make a decision in a minute. So again, the PVA glue is just preventing my background colour from bleeding into the yellow of my petals. This is why this is quite nice. And you get these really lovely effects, look. That sort of hazy, dreamy kind of background. And don't worry about it, let it be sort of thin and where it collects in some places and not others. I think it's a really, really good effect. That's what I love about watercolour, is it's not meant to be thick. It's not meant to be really blocked in, you know, hard, thick paint. Wishy-washy, lovely backgrounds. That's what you're sort of trying to create. So keep it wishy-washy. You can always go over it a bit later, but for now, a little bit is all you need. So it needs to have enough paint in it to have some colour, but you don't want thick paint sitting in the background. You want the background to be a background, so you want it slightly washed out. That's what watercolour does. And actually, doing this type of painting with the PVA glue is a good practice if you've not used watercolours before in this way. It gives you a chance to sort of really play with the paint and the water and the brush and see what sort of effects you get without ruining your work. I think the thing with painting as a child, I used to get frustrated if I would paint a picture and then you put two colours together and forget that they're still wet and they've just run in, and it ruins your whole painting. So at least this way that doesn't really happen. Okay, that, I really do love that blue. Now I have got the tiniest little gap to fill in, which I'm a bit nervous about, so making sure I've not got too much water. It's just there. So I'm going to put a little bit of water in and the tiniest amount of paint. I'm just testing it to make sure that I haven't got too much. It needs to go in there. I don't know if it's going to show up. Yeah, it is. That's a tiny bit more. I'll let that dry and I might need to go over it. I don't think I've got any more of those areas. It's just there. And oh, there's another tiny area there. So just being very, very careful. That in there. Oh, what a happy painting. Love this. I'm quite glad as well that, oh, I have gone over the edge because I wasn't taking care, but I can get rid of that in a minute. When I put my yellow in, that won't really ruin it. So don't worry if you do make a few mistakes. Fine. You'll be able to cover it up, so it's fine. Now, yeah, I'm loving this. You get braver, braver as you go along. Saying that, might have spoken too soon. I'm quite glad when I drew my picture of my sunflower, I didn't just put a sunflower in the middle of my page. I like the way it's come off of the page, so it looks like it's overgrown because it's been so happy in the sun. It's grown off of my page. I quite like artwork that does that, where it doesn't just have to be placed in the middle. You can draw something from a different angle so that you see part of it or bits of it sort of looking like they've just got so big they've grown and it's come off of the page. I think it makes it more interesting. Right, so we're just filling in the rest. Now I'm rushing mine a bit more just to get the background done, but obviously please take care. And it's really lovely. You can be quite mindful doing this, really focusing, lovely and quiet in the classroom, beautiful music on. I can't think of anything more lovely. Right, so I'll just do this bit here and then I'm going to move on to show you what to do to get a bit more detail into your work. So I just wanted you to see what happens when you start putting the colour wash on and how your painting comes to life. So right, so the bit I really like is where some of the darker colour sits in that ridge of the PVA glue. A bit later on, when I come to maybe add a bit more colour to my background, I think I'm going to focus on going around my outside edge, just pushing a bit of paint into those edges where the PVA glue is. So in here, for instance, just put a dark bit of colour in there and then just fade it out. So by getting a bit of colour, water, and just washing out the colour. As it looks, I really like that effect. It just creates a slight border between the background and your actual flower. So look, I'm just going to push a neat bit of colour in there and down the stem. So it's done that, and then a bit more water, so I've got rid of the blue, and then just smudge it, gently bring that colour out by you're almost smudging it out, blending. So blend really carefully, and this doesn't have to be perfect, it just looks lovely. Can you see? It just highlights the blue, making your sunflower then stand out even more. Right, now I will do that all the way around my sunflower where I push that blue up against the PVA. But I'm not going to do it all now because I'm going to move on to just show you how to add a bit more detail. Right, so that's a little tip, a skill of how to make your watercolour painting become a bit more 3D in a way. It's standing out, so you're using colour against colour, shade against shade and light, just to make it pop out a bit more and become a bit more vibrant. Now, with my petals, I don't want them to be one block colour. I want to build up some colour here. So I've got my background is yellow. Now please check your water's okay, because I'm using quite light colours. I'm not really going to mix any other colour onto there. So the blue should be off. But if I wasn't sure the blue was off of my paintbrush, I'll just wet it and then use my damp paper towel just so that I can change the colour. Right, now I've got this wonderful yellow, but I've also got like a mustardy colour and a bit of brown. So this is where I might start to mix a few colours. So let's have a look. I quite like that. Just might mix a bit in. Now, the good thing about watercolour again is your colour mixing can actually happen on your page. Now I might start with this leaf here is in the background. I'm just going to push some of this colour against the PVA, only on one side, like that. And then with my water, I'm going to blend it out again. You know how I did with the blue background? Just blend, blend, blend. So I'm adding a bit of shade to that leaf that's just tucked behind the others. And I've got some more of those other leaves that are just tucked behind, so I'm going to do the same thing. So pushing the colour in to the PVA glue again. This time I'm going to go in that middle bit. More water and then blend outwards. So now we're making our painting a lot more interesting. And again, same thing. I'm just going to wipe that, mix it in again. And I've got another one tucked behind here. So a bit more water and then blend, blend, blend. And then this little one here. So pushing the colour in. Bit more water. And then blend. It's coming to life a bit now. Now, with my other petals, I love that bright yellow colour. This is gorgeous. This has got to be one of the happiest yellows I've seen. So I'm going to really push that in against that edge where that dark paint is, and I'm going to bring it against this edge and then up and around like that. Then I'm going to get rid of that colour, and again with my water I'm going to blend. Now I kind of want a highlighted bit on this petal, so there's a bit of white there which I really like. I'm going to leave that bit, just flick, just pure water over that bit. That's it. So it's got a bit of a highlight. And again with my other petals I'm doing the same thing. Nice neat bit of paint so it works against that area down here, and then with my water blending it out. Now as you can see, you keep going over your painting, adding layers and layers of colour, and that's how you build your painting. So what will happen is, as we do each layer of paint, your flower will start to stand out a bit and lift away from the actual background. And to speed up a bit, you'll be doing yours with great care, I know. But for the purpose of teaching this, I'm just going to really quickly try to just do a few leaves so you really get the idea, and then I can let you get on with yours and I can show you the finished one at the end. Right, so again, I'm not putting solid paint over any areas. Right, let's do a bit of the centre. So we've got this beautiful, beautiful orange. Oh my goodness, look at that colour. And again, pushing it into the PVA glue. So we're not going over the PVA glue, we're just pushing it into the edges. You can see now why I said to not do anything too fussy. moving the paint around. If you think, oh, I've got too much paint in one area, just keep cleaning your brush and keep putting water in. Oh, that orange is lovely. Really beautiful. So your paper's quite wet actually. That's why you've got to be careful not to lean on your work. Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Right, now I've got that mustardy colour in the middle. So again, same thing. Neat paint, just to push it in. And then water, just to blend and to spread the colour out. And then that dark brown in the centre. Right. And then just quickly to show you with my leaves, same thing. Pushing the colour in. Bit more water. A bit more blending. Now, just before I leave you to get on, I've got a lot of work to do. There is no way this is finished yet. What you can do to make a little bit more shade on your sunflower, so especially the stem, I've got a bit of black here, so not too much water at the moment. Just a little bit of black on the tip of my brush, and it's lovely because you don't have to wait for this to dry. I know that I've gone down my stem and shaded some dark green in, but you can make some areas a lot darker by just putting the tip of black into a very wet area. And what happens is, because it's wet, it will disperse the colour and it travels. This is really interesting. I love this. This is my favourite bit with watercolour, is you just put, I don't even have to really paint that in, I can just tap colour in, and what happens is, the beauty of working with PVA is these are just gentle taps, and what's happening is the paint is sitting in that ridge between the PVA glue and the watercolour. It's just dispersing through the water, so I don't have to do a lot. It's just a gentle tap. Now where that's gone quite dark there, I can add a bit of water just to break that up a bit, so I don't want it over concentrated. It just highlights that stem and gives it just a little bit of shade. And same. So you can just experiment with this. You should really pick up quite a few skills in this lesson today. So really focus. And don't forget, if you don't like it, like for instance, there's too much colour there for me now, a bit too much black. All I've got to do is a bit of water on my brush and blend. And by blending, I'm just moving the colour away a bit. So it's not so concentrated now. And I can shift it around like that. Another good thing about watercolour is, even when your paint dries, if you think, oh, I don't like that colour, again, wet your paintbrush and you can paint over a dry area, make it wet again and disperse the colour and blend it in. Right, now, so that's kind of a basic colour wash. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on just highlighting certain areas just to make my sunflower lift away slightly from the background. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So have a go and you'll see mine when I've finished. Okay?